really happy to be here today in front of the AIA crowd. And joining me on screen is our three panelists. They're one of our clients from Platt Architecture. We have Ren, who is their Director of Finance, Jana, their Office Manager, and Bud, their Senior Project Manager. Bud, this first question here for you. So everyone went through a change in culture and work-life balance during the pandemic. How do you think that affected Platt specifically? And are there any culture initiatives or differences that came from the pandemic that you think has benefited your firm now?
Well, we've always been fairly flexible with our schedule. There's always things that come up with your family life and whatever. Somebody needs to work at home for a week or so, or childcare becomes an issue, and suddenly you have to be out of the office for a while. We've always been really flexible with that, but the interesting thing about COVID has been that it really forced us to implement and focus on the strategy and the tools that we have in place now, and we've really got it dialed in now so that anybody can be out for any given period now, and we can deal with it and be as efficient and as productive as we were before. Again, nothing really beats the face-to-face interaction, and that was the hardest part, I think, was just dealing with that. It's really hard to select someone's kitchen cabinets and countertops and knobs when they're not in the same room with you, and it's really hard to back and forth ideas sometimes on design when you're not in the same room looking at paper drawings. So we're still a little bit old school in that regard. But we found a good balance of it. We're adapting to the technology, and so it really helped us get set up for this new model of working remotely.
This I thought was incredible. Ren, when we first chatted, you mentioned that only one Platt employee has left in the past couple years or since the pandemic. In the times where I feel like many businesses are experiencing mass resignation or people changing jobs, what do you credit this to?
So I credit it to a couple things. One is, I think the flexibility that Bud talked about. We do really have a strong culture of putting people first, and like Jana said, trying not to make our staff feel like cogs in a wheel. And so I think that because our staff feels so valued here, like as people, not just as employees, people were willing to kind of stick it out with us and do their best to work here and stay here and make this place successful through the pandemic. I think that was a big part of it. And then having that flexibility to recognize, like, sometimes, like, I mean, I'm a mom, I have 2 kids, and there was no school, so having a workplace that would allow me, even though it presented challenges for everybody else, that would allow me to work at night so that I could be at home with my kids during the day or help my kids through online school during the day, even though I'm our finance director and I do all of our payroll questions. I had people who were willing to work late so that they could meet with me on my schedule. And I think that kind of like effort across divisions and to help each other out in a rough time really led to people wanting to be here and stay here, was a big part of it. And then I also think that we try really hard, even though we're in a small town. I mean, the population of our town is like less than 10,000 people. And we're about 45 minutes outside of Asheville. But even though we're in a small town, our management team works really hard to have competitive salaries so that we can draw top talent and keep top talent despite where we're located. We want to be able to compete with Charlotte, and we want to be able to compete with Greenville and Asheville to be able to draw talent and have people be happy working here. Because I think Parker in particular, and Al before him or with him, still recognize how important it is to be able to feel like you're able to live well. And they want our staff to work hard and live well. And it's clear in how they treat us, and it's clear in how we treat each other. And I think that makes people happy to stay here.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Jana, this question for you is more about employee retention and company culture and having those so closely aligned. How do you keep this alive or help new employees adapt to the Platt values that Ren just mentioned as your team expands?
Yeah, I think something that Platt has been good at for a very long time is hiring. I don't know what the magic sauce is, but we have hired really great people that are really warm and welcoming and friendly. And I feel like we all really get along well. And like I said before, everyone's like really funny and well traveled and smart and hardworking. I think just hiring really well at the outset is important. And then we do a lot of company events. We have Beer Fridays most Friday. It starts at 3. It's not an all-day event, but we do drink beer at work on Fridays. We did breakfast at work a lot, like family meal style breakfast. We have a lot of events. Our Parker's brothers in a band called the Steep Canyon Rangers, and we're all going to a concert next week together. So lots of I don't want to call them team building activities because we don't talk that much about work at these events, but like activities to get people together outside of work, just socializing and building relationships between each other. I think this has been huge for retention, and it's a big part of why I'm still here, because it's a really fun place to work, actually.
Yeah, and we're not just employees, we're people, and we're people with families, and we do a lot of activities so we all get together occasionally. We have a Christmas party every year. Last year was virtual. This year we didn't have one this year, but we typically have a big Christmas party with all the spouses and families, and it's just good to see everybody and remind us that, hey, we all have families and family lives, and work's not the only thing that we have going for us.
Also, Wed brought up families. Parker hosted an Easter egg hunt for all our kids at his house, for those of us who have kids, and that's awesome. It's great to be able to do that. And then he also hosted another last summer, after a lot of us hadn't seen each other in a long time. He hosted an outdoor event at his house so we'd all feel COVID safe, that was open to families as well, not just to staff. And so you get to build more relationships with each other. And also, I think it helps us see each other as people and not just coworkers, which Jana and I talk a lot about assuming positive intent. And so it helps you, when maybe somebody doesn't meet a deadline or something doesn't work out, because we are able to have those outside times where we're able to interact with each other outside of work, it makes it easier to assume positive intent. I think it's why people were willing to be there for each other, meet with me after hours, to get our jobs done. And it goes a long way toward having us, I think, work harder sometimes, because we are so accountable to each other and we all want to see each other be successful in what we're doing.
Be interesting knowing how many employees who did not want to return to fully in-office work. And then Peter similarly was asking, what do you do if people don't want to return 100%?
Almost everybody wanted to come back full time. We had a couple holdouts who would have preferred to have more of a hybrid schedule than we offer at this time. But even those people, in having met with them, have admitted that they are more productive when they're in the office and they see the value of being here and working with the team. So I think our longstanding policy of just general flexibility helps. So if there are times that you really need to be at home, we let you be home if you need to be. And because of COVID, we know how to work from home. So it's not like you're completely offline, but our default is you're in the office. If you have extenuating circumstances that require you to be away from home for certain reasons, specific reasons, not ongoing ones, then we accommodate those.